Hello, sixth graders. After watching some of the quizzes in the Natural Resources unit, I went through it and took some notes myself. So those of you who have already taken some of these, this is a good review for your topic test. For those of you who are just getting started on the natural resources, these are the kind of notes you should be looking at as you go through your unit. So some Edgenuity notes by Mr. Formby. Natural resources are important to us because they provide us with everything we need to survive through our atmosphere, ocean, and soil. We use Earth's natural resources to help us survive every single day. A natural resource is any natural material that is used by humans or living things. Examples would include water, petroleum, minerals, forests, and animals. Most natural resources are made into products. Very few natural resources are used in their natural state. What is a renewable resource? A renewable resource is a natural resource that can be used and replaced over a relatively short period of time. Although they can be replaced, we have often used them more quickly than they can be replaced. Examples would be water and trees. What are non-renewable resources? Not all of Earth's resources are renewable. A non-renewable resource is a natural resource that cannot be replaced or that can be replaced only over thousands or millions of years. The Earth only has a certain amount of non-renewable resources at any given time. Examples of these would be oil, natural gas, and coal. What are fossil fuels? Energy resources are natural resources that humans use to generate energy. Most of the energy we use comes from fossil fuels. A fossil fuel is a non-renewable energy resource formed from the remains of plants and animals that lived a long time ago. In other words, we're burning up what's left of the dinosaurs. Examples of fossil fuels include petroleum, coal, and natural gas. When these fossil fuels are burned, they produce energy. However, when these fossil fuels are burned, and because they are non-renewable resources, they're gone. Once they're used up and gone, new supplies won't be available for thousands or even millions of years. In numbers, the world currently uses roughly 75 to 80 million barrels of oil per day, of which the United States consumes about 20 million, or 1/4 of the global supply every day. How is coal formed? Well, coal is what's left from swamps that were here long time ago, about 300 million years ago to be exact. Hey, even before the dinosaurs walked around. But all the materials in those swamps died and fell down and got buried. And after millions of years of being buried under layers and layers of dirt and rock, it got compressed under lots of pressure. It got really hot, and it turned all those dead plants and leaves into coal. So when we burn coal in our electric producing power plants, we're burning ancient swamps. How about oil and natural gas? How are they formed? Well, oil and natural gas come from leftover dinosaurs, tiny sea plants and animals that died and were buried on the ocean floor. Over time, they were covered by layers of silt and sand. After millions of years, the remains were buried deeper and deeper, and the enormous heat and pressure turned them into oil and gas. Today we drill down through all those layers that built up to reach the rock formations that contain oil and gas deposits. How about alternative resources? Most of the energy needs come from the use of fossil fuels, but there are two main problems with fossil fuels. Availability is limited, and obtaining and using fossil fuels harms the environment. To continue to have energy but reduce pollution, we must find alternative sources of energy. What are some of these alternative energy sources, you ask? Why, I'm glad you asked. Like all things, each alternative energy source has some pros and cons. Nuclear energy, energy from fission or fusion reactions. Solar energy from the sun. Wind energy from the wind, obviously. Hydroelectricity, energy from flowing water. And biomass, energy from burning organic or living matter. Geothermal, energy from the earth. These energy sources are inexhaustible, meaning they are constant and will never run out. Nuclear energy. Nuclear fusion. Nuclear energy is broken into two different types. Nuclear fusion, the energy released when two atoms are smashed together to make one large atom. It's the way the sun works. The sun converts two hydrogen atoms into one helium atom by smashing them together, and it produces an enormous amount of energy, as evidenced by stepping outside in Georgia in September now, but it's awfully hot. Fusion is very effective. Nuclear fission is the energy released when an atom is torn apart. This is how nuclear power plants that we use work. When the nucleus of an atom is ripped apart, it releases energy, and as you can see in this diagram, that energy is used to heat water to produce steam. That steam under pressure then turns a turbine and produces electricity. Nuclear energy is nice and it's inexhaustible, and it has some advantages. A small amount of radioactivity produces an awful lot of energy, and the basic raw materials are relatively cheap and can last a long time, and it doesn't give off atmospheric pollutions. Those are all good things, but there are some disadvantages. Nuclear reactors are very expensive to run, and nuclear waste, what's left over when it's done, is highly toxic and needs to be safely stored for hundreds or even thousands of years, and it's very expensive. Leakage of nuclear materials can have devastating impact on people and the environment. Just ask people in Fukushima, Japan, or Chernobyl, Ukraine, or even 3 Mile Island here in the United States, what happens if there are any disadvantages to nuclear energy. And I believe they'll all tell you, yes, there are. Why is it important to conserve our natural resources? Well, we need to be careful on how we use our natural resources. Use them only when necessary. Conservation is the preservation and careful management of the environment and natural resources. Things that we can do like reduce, reuse, and recycle. Certainly you've heard that one before. One way to limit their uses, turn off your faucets while you're brushing your teeth. Replant some plants. I planted a tree in my front yard this week. Recycling. If you don't have a recycling bin, you should set one up. I recycle aluminum, paper, plastic, steel, aluminum cans. It's a good idea.